Over here, this is another painting I had commissioned. This is me as a sad clown. I have always been fascinated by sad clowns, even though people are afraid of them. But clowns are, their job is to entertain us. But when the makeup comes off, when the mask is unveiled, they go home to lonely lives and they weep in silence. So I thought that was very powerful. And the artist that painted this shot, to Kimberly Forger from Little Rock, actually took a poem that I've written and incorporated it into the painting, which I didn't even know she was going to do. But it's very symbolic that of the placement. So my mom, before she passed, she would always talk to me to give me comfort. No matter what I was going through, she would just always that comforting voice. Even though she's physically no longer here, basically, spiritually, virtually, Mom and I silently talk to each other. But again, since the focus of our episode is going to be on suicide, I'm going to have to turn it dark just for a moment. So I remember 2016 sitting approximately right where I'm standing now. And I was going through a major depression. This was before I had my thyroid removed. A lot of that depression was tied into my health issue. Again, I'm going to have to get the full story on the full podcast.
Smitty did it, nigga.
You can't tell, like, it's can't see a book. You can see it, just enough to tell, like, you can't see it.
Yeah. Y'all know what it is, man. We back up in the building, man. It's the one and only D, one and only. Now, like I said it every time, D, one and only Moody. And we're here in another night for, yes, you've guessed it, Moody Was Here, man. The #1 podcast in the universe, in the metaverse, and any other universe that we haven't discovered yet. You feel me? But tonight, like I always say, it ain't about me. They didn't come to see you, Otis, as they always would say. We got another special guest in the building tonight, man. Somebody who is known in this community in so many different factions, man, that I can't even tell you how much that he means to this community in so many different ways. He's literally a living legend, awarded and everything, and he is definitely the one person that's going to be out here that's going to be in the front lines of anything we do, especially in the black community. And tonight he's on the front line again for mental health, man. We talking about a living legend. So without further ado, you already know what it is. We got DJ King Vic, A-State's #1 DJ in the building. And before y'all get too involved in the podcast, y'all make sure y'all go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, because y'all be kind of stingy holding that, not pushing that button. I see you looking, but I don't see you pushing buttons, and that kind of makes me feel some type of way. But I ain't going to talk about that right now, man, because like I said, DJ King Vic is in the building, man, and I need you to go ahead and get these vocals warmed up for me. So, DJ, give me something so I can bless my guest in the building tonight.
Not the Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Y'all know what it is, man. It's another night in the building. Y'all know what it is. The number one. Moody Was Here. Y'all like that? And tonight, we have another special guest in the building, man. You know what it is. He's the founder and general manager for the first and the only black-owned radio station here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Like I said, he's a living legend. You better put some respect on his name when you see him. It's the one, the only, LaGanzie Kale.
Man, take me back to the 80s, man.
Yeah,
Growing
man.
up, man. I always actually wanted to come in off of that Bulls intro. In fact, I know we're talking about mental health,
No,
but
go for it. Because
I'm also a pro wrestling fan, and so Kenny Omega, he's a wrestler in this wrestling company called AEW. He actually is a fan of that, and when he does his intro, the announcer says, "From North Carolina."
Yeah, so I love it. No, I love the Bulls intro. Like I said, when I first started, I was like, man,
it's
I gotta
iconic.
do it.
It's
It's
iconic.
very iconic, man. You gotta have it. And they just every time I hear it, it gets me going, man. It's sending that electricity to my body, man. I was definitely a
Make
90s
me want to
Bull
fight
fan.
somebody.
Oh my God! All right, calm down, man.
So full disclosure, I was at a Chamber of Commerce event. They had liquor there. So
Yeah. I'm with
so
it.
this may get uncensored quick. But,
Hey, that's all good. 'Cause like
but
I said,
but my pastor may be watching, so I may need to
oh, he
calm it down
might.
just a little bit.
Yeah, our pastor might be watching. Shout out to
Yeah.
Pastor
Man,
Dr.
you might well
Ota.
go on. I was supposed to say, you might well go and join. You've been in church.
Oh.
You come to church every Sunday.
Yeah,
I know. I put you on Front Street.
I already know it, and I love it. Everybody, they put me on Front Street every time. But like I said, man, we are happy to have you here in the building. Like I said, you know, you could have brought a little bit of liquor when you left the meeting, but it's okay. We're not going to talk about that right now. But I'm glad to have you here, most definitely. And like I said, every time I start a podcast, I always ask, and I start with the same question that I ask everybody. And I'm not going to make you any exception, any different. So the first question I do have to ask you is, are you happy?
Actually, like I said, may have something to do with the liquor. I'm actually in pretty good spirits overall. I mean, I can't lie. You know, not every day is a good day. And one thing that is just so ironic, what we're going to talk about today is so ironic because one of my closest friends, he called me as I was driving here, and I was almost worried that I wouldn't actually be able to walk in time because, you know, you got to be there for your friends. And he literally was talking about some of these same things, being a black man who is known in his community. I'm not going to say names or any identification, but someone who's known, who has a prominent role, kind of like what I have, who is dealing with that depression, who is dealing and struggling with those suicidal thoughts. And so it's almost like it's a confirmation that, you know, this is where I need to be tonight, having this conversation.
Most definitely. Like I said, and it's always kind of like funny just in regards to like the alignment and the placement of things and how everything seems to play out, especially whenever you're walking in a certain path. And speaking of like certain paths and the irony of certain things, whenever I visited with you at your radio station, KLEK 102.5 FM, you was telling me that the placement of the location of it was kind of symbolic because it was in the center of town. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So back in 2014, when was originally looking to start the station, we were leasing space on Stone Street. Okay. And of course, you know, whenever you lease commercial space, first thing they say, well, what kind of business are you going to open up? And of course, I tell them, well, I'm looking to start a radio station. But part of starting it is I'm going to need to put up a radio tower on the building. And at that time, our construction permit was just for a 47-foot tower, not the 100-foot First National Bank tower we have now. But that's okay, yeah, cool. So, you know, when we filed with the FCC, you know, we had to put down that location because, you know, they have to have their engineers look over the application, make sure that your station is not going to interfere with any stations currently on the air.
Gotcha.
So got approved for it. One day get called into the leasing office and said, well, the owner of the building decided that they don't want a radio tower on their property. So literally had to start completely over from scratch. Had to go through the whole application process. And so just happened to, by chance, find our current location on Franklin Street. But here's where the testimony comes in, that if you take a map of Jonesboro and you stick a pin at 1411 Franklin Street, it is literally smack in the middle of Jonesboro. Like, you literally could not get any more central to Jonesboro than where we are. So it was like it was meant for us to be placed there.
That's perfect. That's perfect. As you can already have said, I can see that it was struggles coming in from day one in regards to like figuring out the right location and everything like that. And you also shared with me that a lot of your depression also kind of started and kind of was going on through that time as you was building the company up and everything like of that sort. Kind of where would you say as you were doing the building of the radio station, everything that you had to go through, where was it a point to where you start realizing that I'm feeling it different than I normally feel?
Well, my battle with depression actually began when I was 13 years old.
Really?
I've had some kind of mental issues really since the beginning. I was born with and still deal with ADHD to this point, but my actual depression started at 13. I was bullied in school. I was made fun of. I was, and still am a nerd, except for being an adult nerd now is actually kind of cool.
It's
but
very
back then, it wasn't, and I was super skinny. Even skinnier than I am now. So I was basically too everything. I was too skinny. I was too nice. Too short. I would walk funny. It was like what was right about me instead of what was wrong with me. So that was always a struggle. But people always say, well, when you get to college, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. You're going to be around people that's more mature.
Right.
And but I got to A-State, it got worse. So, I was even made more fun of. Now, of course, King Vic is currently the #1 DJ. I used to hold that title back in the day. I really think DJing is a young man's game, so I'm gonna let Vic have that. But I remember when he first started his career. I know we're getting off track.
No, go for it. You got to.
He would come to me, and he would ask me about recommendations for buying equipment. So I'm glad to see how he's grown. He has taken his DJ career to heights I could have never imagined. DJing football games.
Yeah,
He's
right.
got a block party coming up, a barbecue fest. I could have never imagined that. And I'm in a season in my life to where I love to see people go higher and do better. I believe I don't have to blow out your candle in order for mine to shine. So shout out to you,
Come on,
Vic.
man. Shout out to DJ King Vic in the building. I love it.
I don't just got completely off track.
No, you good.
The liquor talk. I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
No, you got it.
Getting back to my depression story. So at A-State, basically, people say, well, he tries to holler at every girl that he see, but he gay. I'm like,
what else you supposed to do?
And of course, again, nothing against the LGBTQIA community because we do represent those voices on KLEK. But I'm like, I got to pick a struggle here. I'm either one or the other. So with that, so the point I'm making with that, depression is something that I always deal with, and bringing it back full circle to KLEK. There was a lot of anxiety because KLEK is classified as a low-power FM station. There are probably light bulbs in this house that broadcast with more power than what we're authorized for. And so one of the caveats of having a low-power FM, when you have engineering studies done on your signal, it's not a guarantee of what it's going to sound like when you fire this thing up. So we're going around town. We're trying to get people to support first an idea. Some people can even imagine, oh, the radio station, we've never had that for a black radio station. That's impossible. And then, of course, people's natural distrust of people, because, there are scammers, fraudsters, tricksters. And, you're saying, well, hey, give us money. We're going to do this. And, well, what do you have to show for it? Nothing. So, but I'm having to step out on faith and sell something, and I'm not even 100% sure if it's going to work. Right. So, that anxiety is always in the back of my mind. Like, what if I take these people money, we get all this equipment, we get this thing on air, turn it on, and people hear static. Right. But I still had to go for it anyway. So the day that we did program testing, when they finally finished construction of the tower, and we fired it up for the first time, and the signal was actually loud and clear, I just completely broke down and cried because that was such a huge relief off my shoulder. But again, bringing it back to the depression, even in that first year, there were people, there were still doubters. They were like, oh, well, they got it on air, but it won't last a year. It won't last. They'll be off the air. They'll be out of business. Or, there'll be people whispering, people hating. Perfect example, like when First National Bank gave the $25,000 donation to build our new tower, which increased our range by 5 to 10 miles and also improved the signal in the community. People like, well, why did they give them that money? That money could have been spent for something else in the community. Again, don't believe it. Don't have to blow out your candle for buying this line. But people were literally trying to blow out the candle, and they say sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words may never. Well, words do hurt. Words do matter. So that were just some of the things that dealt with, and a lot of times it came from people, in the black community. Right. We're trying to establish something for us, and having, we're not wanting to support it. People outside of the community, they're seeing it and they're getting behind it. But I think traditionally, some of us, not everybody, are, you have to literally. You have to prove yourself before people, will come on board. So, those were just some of the mental struggles.
Most definitely. And I definitely want to ask you a question just for us, get your opinion. And for people that don't know, here we are 8 years later. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
You feel me?
We
But-
thank God for it.
Most definitely. But you touched on something that I feel like is also a struggle. A lot of people question as well. Like in the black community, it does seem that there's a lot of hesitation when it comes to like other black people doing something, and that obviously weighs on the mental toll of people. Why do you feel it's like that, or do you even have like an opinion in regards to that?
Willie Lynch is real.
Real talk.
Willie Lynch is real. I mean, there's debate,
talk.
there's scholarly debate on if Willie Lynch was a person or if he actually wrote that or if it actually published. It doesn't freaking matter.
Right.
The mentality is still there. But I remember Dr. Joyce Olashola, former professor at A-State, said something to me and Quabila. Shout out to my girl Quabila, the queen of KLEK. And it has stuck with me to this day because, you know, Quabila and I, we used to sit in the studio often and just have these conversations because we would be like frustrated there. And that girl is my ride or die right there. One of my biggest supporters. But, you know, Dr. Olashola said, don't worry about the classic field Negroes versus the house Negroes. Of course, you know, it's a different term, but, you know, we're keeping this clean here. But don't worry about the ones in the field and the ones in the house, because if you think about it, during slavery time, those slaves that were inside Massa's house, especially the one that was laid up with Massa, making them feel good, sleeping with them,
Right.
and, you know, getting all that cuddle talk and pillow talk, and, you know, he in the heat of the moment sharing all that info. Well, those people that worked in the house were sharing that intel with those people, with those in the field.
Gotcha.
So they needed each other. They had to stick together. It wasn't, you know, they try to pit one side against each other, but, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, on the battlefield in war, you know, you needed the people on the inside just like you need the people on the side. Like, not everybody's in. Of course, shout out to Victoria, former member of JPD. And
Most
also,
definitely.
did y'all know that Victoria actually was the #1 shot in her class? 16 officers.
Come on now.
Never shot a gun before in her life. She obliterated all of them.
Let's go.
She is the last person you won't shoot. She's the last person you won't shooting at you. 'Cause she is not gonna miss.
I love it.
She is not gonna miss. But, you know, being that's, you know, you need people. Not everybody's meant to pick up a gun and shoot it. Somebody's got to clean the gun. You got to have the medics.
No,
you know,
I got you.
Everybody's got to
I got you.
work together. Teamwork make the dream work.
I'm with it. Your full circle game is strong. You know how to bring it back now. I love it. So I love it. Like I said, man, it does make it different. Like I said, that mentality does, you know, hinder us in certain different ways, and it does make us, you know, goes against our mindset in a sense, especially those who are looking to advance by any means. Like I said, my life shouldn't make your life feel any type of way of bring on any type of insecurity. But I want to touch base again back on KLEK again. Like I said, I know it's a significance to the name and everything like that. Something that you share with me is something I definitely want you to share and honor, you know, in regards to like where that name comes from.
Okay, so, and I've told the story a million times, but
That's million
and 5.237
Let's do
seconds.
it.
So, KLEK is named after my late mother, Lovey at McHale. So, I'm gonna give a quick little lesson from the broadcasting day. So, the first K is because our station is west of the Mississippi. So all radio stations west of the Mississippi River, call letters begin with K. Those east of the Mississippi River begin with W. And I'm actually glad because in the radio business, if you say W, they look at you crazy. So, you know, you have to enunciate that W. But I don't have that problem. It's just a simple K, boom. So that's the first K. But you know, mom, mom was pretty much my everything. You know, I'm an only child. Not only that, I'm a rainbow baby. My older brother, sister was stillborn. My parents had actually given up on having kids. But boom, here I am.
My son was a rainbow baby.
So, then you know.
No, yeah, most
So
definitely.
I was the one that made it. Of course, I questioned that at time, but we'll get into that a little later. So you asked about the name of the station. So I always wanted to honor her memory because, you know, she, from the beginning, made sure that I was good. She sacrificed to make me the man that today, to the point of, so my mom and dad had cancer at the same time in 1990. She had breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy. He had prostate. I'm very high risk of prostate cancer. My dad and all of his brothers died from it. And I had my own cancer scare a couple years back. That was another bout of depression that I dealt with. And by the way, men, get screened for prostate cancer. Get screened. And I pray you never have to have a cystoscopy because that's 3 minutes of your life you will never, ever get back. They literally stick it where the sun don't shine. You know.
I tried
And you get up and you just can't. You like duck walking and some more stuff. What we say about that circle game coming back on point. So we're gonna circle it back to moms. So, but mom made sacrifice. Like when my father passed away, my mom never dated another man again. Now there were guys that were trying. The phone was ringing. Random dudes would show up at the house when she tell them get gone. But she sacrificed because she wanted to make sure that I had everything that I needed. And you know, she was always worried about me because she knew that her health wasn't good. You know, even though I survived, her pregnancy was very complicated. So she always used to just drill home, get your education. Can no one take that away from you? And my grandmother was about to do, because my grandmother only had a third-grade education and picked cotton all her life. So her goal was, get your bachelor's degree, get your master's degree, so that you won't have to beg people. Even though I'm in a nonprofit world, I'm still begging people for money. But you get the point. Okay. You're not having to kiss somebody's tail to make it. And so when I did get my master's degree in 2013, I remember pushing that button to submit my last assignment, and I just broke down again. And I'm glad that she lived and she held on long enough to actually see that. But you know, when she passed away, and that's one of losing your mother to anyone who's went through it. It's a club that you never asked to join, but eventually it potentially can happen to us all. And a lot of people have come to me asking for advice with dealing with it. But I wanted to just honor her. It was just always in my spirit. And so when the seed was planted for me to start a radio station, I got to back up just a little bit even before KLEK. So before starting KLEK, my radio mentor, Mr. Raymond Sims, owner of 4th Street Radio Network in Helena, West Helena, he actually gave me my first actual radio break, and he saw something in me. And that's so important about us as black people, paving the way for other black people. Again, talking about I don't have to blow out your candle for mine to shine. So he passed his knowledge on to me and gave me an opportunity. That's why I always try to get younger people, A-State students, young people, to come volunteer, come intern, so I can give you this knowledge. I can pay it forward. So he planted that seed. So he like, LaGanzie, because he could never get my name right. People can't never get my name right. I get LaGanzie, Gonzo, Alexander, a whole bunch of other stuff. But like, LaGanzie, you ever thought about owning a restaurant? Owning? I mean, I'm broke. Restaurant costs 6-7 figures. I don't have money like that. But I guess he looked at, maybe God dropped the vision, or he may have saw something. And so he actually agreed to help me get partners to actually buy a station.
Oh, that's good.
So that's it. We were just kind of just looking for opportunities, and we actually were looking at an opportunity in Pine Bluff. We were just waiting for the owner of the station to come off the price before we was going to make the investment. But then the opportunity opened to start KLEK by the passage of the Local Community Radio Act of 2010, which authorized the FCC to put out these low-power FM licenses. But even if I had gotten an existing station, I was going to rename it, you know, after my mom. So it was going to be a KLEK somewhere or a WLEK somewhere. That was just, you know, how I wanted to honor her memory. And so now, every time someone tunes in to KLEK, even if they never realize it, but they're getting a piece of her, no matter where it goes.
That's a love. I love that. I mean, that's such a great way to like honor your mother, like I said, in so many different ways, and just being able to continue to have that legacy play on throughout the radio, and so many people are able to receive that like through you and everything like that. So, man, definitely applaud you for that, man. That's something that,
thank you.
Man, I mean, that's honorable in so many different levels, to be honest, like seriously. I had the honor, like I said, to visit the station as well. And one of the things that stuck out that you showed me about, as you can see, I love art as well. So whenever you showed me the painting of the clown, that was something that like stuck with me the rest of that day in regards to that. Because that's something that I also have like thought about as well, just for like the life of a clown and everything like that. I'm big on like the Joker movie and everything. Like everything about the Joker, I love it. So, like, you have a fascination with sad clowns. Is it just sad clowns or just clowns overall?
Well, sad clowns.
Gotcha.
So, again, like I was telling you for the preview video, clowns are entertainers. And it's so funny because growing up back in the day, you know, you had Bozo the Clown, and clowns were seen as positive people. You know, you couldn't wait to go to Circus City Clown. But I don't know, somewhere things just went left, and people started being scared of clowns. I don't know, maybe they started casting clowns in horror movies or something. But I actually was fascinated with sad clowns because at the end of the day, I could just see the pain in their faces, and that just resonated, and that related to me. And so I had this vision. I wanted to be painted as a sad clown because I felt like that was the story of my life. So I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about my DJ days.
Gotcha.
Especially
the original
since
number one
you,
DJ.
You want, but you know what? Those sitting in that booth, I could being upstairs in the pavilion. Vic know what I'm talking about. Being upstairs in the pavilion or being at the Armory or at the skating rink.
Oh, yeah.
Those were some of the lowest moments of my life. The crowd could literally be jumping. I mean, I started riots when I was DJing. I don't recommend, Vic, you do that. But I literally started riots. I mean, I was, trust me, A-State administration did not always like me.
I love it.
But everybody's hype and jumping, and I'm literally like dying on the inside. It's like, you know, I'm feeling like at the lowest of the low. You know, one point that I particularly remember, I was DJing a Valentine dance for the AKAs. I'm single. I don't have no girlfriend. Don't nobody want to date me. You know, and I'm just like so depressed. But people never knew it. In fact, I think sometimes the more depressed I was, the hyper the party was. You know, I guess I would just channel that into the music.
You had an outlet
that I play. Yeah, it was, you know, it was literally an outlet. And now my comeback game fell off. Now, what was the question? It was bound to happen.
Clowns
Oh yeah, getting back to the sad clowns. So thank you. So after when my mom died, her favorite song, one of her favorite songs was Mahalia Jackson, "Troubles of the World," and I actually made a music video of that song with just pictures I Googled of sad clowns. And I made another one of, gonna take it back to wrestling, the original Doink the Clown theme, not the happy one, but Doink the Clown, when he originally came out, was a bad guy. You know, he was literally a scary clown. And he had like this really, really dark song. And I just made a video of it. And in this song, there were literally like kids like screaming and crying and being tortured. But yeah, that pain resonated with me. So getting to the painting, I connected with this young lady. Her name's Kimberly Forga, an artist out of Little Rock. She's also an illustrator. She illustrates kids' books. So if you need artwork, hit her up. I can get you info. Again, I don't have to blow out anyone's candle for mine to shine. So I'm trying to make sure everybody's candle.
I love it. Yeah.
So
I love it.
I reached out to her and I had this vision. I said, I want to be painted as a sad clown. And so I emailed her pictures of me crying. You know, that's, I guess, a kind of a weird quirk of mine. Sometimes when I cry, I would just take a picture. I guess there was a reason why.
I got them too.
So I sent them to her, and then, like I said, all these pictures I had Googled of sad clowns, and I sent her some of my poetry. And some of my best poetry was doing some of my low points. And so she came up with the painting. But she actually put the poem in the painting, and the poem was about failure. I'm gonna see if I can find it right quick.
Yeah, most definitely.
In my notes. But it just really resonated with me because, like I was telling you before in the studio, when the placement of those two paintings, my mom's photo, and by the way, I gotta tell you the story of this photo because it relates. So with my mom, I wanted a picture painted of my mom because I said, whenever I started a radio station, the very first thing I was going to put in the room, before a microphone, a board, a wire, mom's picture had to go up in there first. So originally I just had like a photo printed of mom, but
Gotcha.
I had a young lady, it was a young white lady who was actually leasing space in the building, and I asked her to do the painting. She was kind of nervous about it. She said, well, I never really painted a black woman before, but I gave her the picture of mom, and you know, she worked on it, and when she showed it to me, I literally cried. I said, you represented mom so well. She said, well, it's almost like your mom was speaking to me. Because the original paint was like a black and white photo, but she had mom like in this purple dress, and the background was yellow. She said, I just saw royalty, and I said, that is exactly the way Mom wore her makeup. That was the color, shade of lipstick, everything. And the picture I gave her, Mom had on no makeup. So again, that was divine that she interpreted that way. But growing up, you know, no matter how bad things got, I could always talk to Mom. Even when I was in college, I could come home, we sit at the kitchen table, I fix a pot of coffee, I bring her Marlboro cigarettes. That's one thing I didn't like about Mom. Mom smoked. But no matter what, even if she didn't solve the problem, I felt better.
Right.
So the placement of me as the sad clown and Mom's portrait, we are still perpetually, silently talking to each other to this day. So I'm going to read the poem that actually is inscribed on the sad clown. Failure. People see the outside success. They think I have it all. Oblivious to know I've met a tragic fall. People cannot see the failure inside, shielded by layers, the debris from the fire. People see the accomplishments, the deeds that have been achieved, blinded to know the tragedies I've endured so. People cannot understand the mistakes I've made. If they really knew, they would chasten me in haste. People cannot fathom the choices I've did. I accept the consequences of them. Heavy the price is. People do not know the magnitude of my failures. They only see the success of my external. They may see when it's too late. But there was like certain words in the painting that the artist just kind of honed in on. I'm actually about to pull it up. But and I wish you could see it on the camera, but the word failure, layers, fire, tragic failure, you know, and literally I'm looking at it right now. So the tears is like accomplishments. And that's powerful because it seemed like the more stuff I accomplished, the higher I got, the worse the depression got. Love, success, achievements. It's like, yes, I've achieved all these things, but it hasn't come without pain.
No, I'm with that, man. First of all, let's get some snaps for that poetry reading right there. I love it, most definitely. But that's something that I feel like a lot of people that is very common in when you have a certain level of success, people automatically feel that you should be nowhere near depression or anything of that sort. But yeah, a lot of times whenever you're at your highs, that's when you're at your lowest as well. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny how that ends up working like that. But man, like I said, I definitely appreciate you sharing this thus far. We're going to take a quick break. We're probably going to have to end up getting a DJ King Vic versus DJ LaGanzie versus going on at some point to kind of see what this title to look like.
I'm retired, y'all. I forfeit.
But we're going to take a quick break real quick. When we come back, we're going to get a little bit more into your story. Like I said, you told me that it was one day in the radio station that you had kind of finally made that decision that you wanted to take that final curtain call, in a sense of what they say. So when we come back, we're going to kind of talk about that. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. The boy Moody was here.
LaGanzie Kale, founder and general manager, KLEK 102.5 FM, first and only black-owned and operated radio station here in Jonesboro, which we started on January 1st, 2015, so we're going on almost 8 years going, and we've really grown so much since then. So you're kind of looking down the hallway. This is just kind of like a pictorial history of the station, different articles that have been written about us, some of the things that we've been in the forefront of, such as this one. This was one time that the parks director at that time had made a racist comment, and the mayor had to come on and talk to the viewers about it. Magazine that we're featured in Little Rock was also featured in a newspaper in New York. This is when First National Bank donated the $25,000 to buy our new tower. And that's their most recent donation, which was our new transmitter. Of course, we're very involved in the community. This is all of our Juneteenth celebration, winning the 8th State Living Legend Award. Our partnership with Jonesboro Police, with Trunk or Treat. By the way, Trunk or Treat is coming up October 25th this year. It was Kwanzaa, which we are gearing up for our Kwanzaa celebration. So basically, and can't forget about this, our first ever full-page article in the Sun talking about Juneteenth. So basically, and of course with this being mental health focused, putting all of this together, and of course I can't take all the credit because first, God made it all possible. In fact, to give you a little quick testimony, if you take a pen and literally stick it on a map of Jonesboro, 1411 Franklin Street. It is literally smack in the middle of Jonesboro. You couldn't get more central than that. But you got to tune in to get the full story on that one.
Yo, y'all know what it is, man. The boy, the kid, the boy, the man, the ninth wonder of the world, man. I don't even know which wonder we are, but it don't matter because
Well,
I
y'all
am.
ninth wonder of the world was
China. And I'm back in the building. Oh, that's right. That is definitely right. So, whichever one, I'm going to keep being the ninth to 10th one. I'm just going to keep pushing mine up as they keep finding different ones.
Hey, nothing wrong with it. But, hey, again, I don't have to blow out your candle for mine to shine.
There you go. But like I said, man, we do have a special guest in the building, man. Like I said, he's dropped so much thus far, man, and it's continued to just keep going and everything in so many ways, man. Being so transparent, being so vulnerable in these certain moments, man, it definitely says a lot about you. It says a lot as a black man. And like I said, you allowing yourself to be in the forefront and not allowing anything else, anybody to keep you from expressing yourself and empowering somebody else with your story. So I definitely appreciate it. Like you said the other day. So now we're going to go a little bit dark.
Okay. I'm here for it because I got a lot to say.
Most definitely. And so you told me to went up visit the station. Like I said, you know, one of the places, like you said, that this name not your mom and everything of that sort. So you told me also that within that certain spot in that room, where that painting is of your mom, that was also the day that you had decided that you was going to kind of do that last curtain call and go ahead and try to, you know, at some point possibly commit suicide.
Let's just call it what it is. You know,
Most
curtain call.
Oh, so, I'm gonna call it now.
So
I gotta build it up.
I know. I'm gonna talk about that particular incident, but I've struggled with those kind of thoughts ever since I've had depression. Even at a state, there was one time I thought about literally jumping out of the 9th story window of Twin Towers. I was actually reported for being suicidal when I was at A State.
Oh, really?
And I remember the UPD officers sat outside of my dorm room and would not leave while my mom had to actually come up from Helena. And somebody had to be in the room with me. So my guy, speaking of DJ Mr. Chu.
That's another one,
so,
another legend.
But Chu had stayed a few doors down from me. He had to come sit in the room with me. They would not let me be in that room long. And basically, I was ordered to go through. For the first 2 weeks, I had to go to counseling services every single day.
Okay.
And then I had to go once a week the rest of the semester. It was either that or I was going to get kicked out of school.
I was just about to ask you. Like,
and so that wasn't. So that was that time. Then there was been a couple. I think there was another time when I lived in Helena. When I had was suicidal, and I think the police was called on me. And then I had an actual complete nervous breakdown in 2014 before starting this station. The story behind that was so getting back, at the peak of my DJ career, which was 2003, 2004, me and my organization at the time, the KLEK, we were having parties at the skating rink, and they were legendary. So people always ask, well, when the KLEK is gonna come back? When the KLEK is gonna come back? So we attempted to come back in 2011, and it bombed horribly. So that mentally did something to me. Plus, I was going through other things in my life, and so I literally just had a meltdown. I was just literally sleeping hours at a time. I was mixing NyQuil with sleeping meds, just trying to numb the pain. And I would just get up just to eat or to use the restroom, and I would post on Facebook, and I was like going off and cussing people out to the point to where a couple of other KLEK members who had access to the page actually changed the password on me.
Oh, wow.
I had to do a lot of apologizing once I finally came to my senses. So let's fast forward to 2016. So 2016, I'm sitting in the studio. I'm dealing with seasonal affective disorder. For those that may not understand, seasonal affective disorder is like severe depression that occurs in the season, especially in the wintertime.
Okay.
And of course, after the passing of mom,
Gotcha.
not having mom, and most of my family has passed away. I don't really have that much family left. So, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when everybody's happy with their family, I didn't get to experience this, so it was weighing on me. Plus, I had developed thyroid issues. I was hyperthyroid. When I was hyperthyroid, I had lost 55 pounds. I couldn't even hold up this tissue. I lost all of my strength. And then when they finally I almost died because my heart was like, just around the clock.
Right.
So that, so I physically wasn't well, and I mentally wasn't well, but it was taking its toll. And, like I was showing you, I remember because I had a Christmas tree up in the studio. That was one of the things I also did to try to surround myself with more positive memories of growing up with mom. So I've always put up a Christmas tree in the studio.
Right.
So I'm sitting down on the floor, depressed. Then, those thoughts started getting in my head, and to the point to where I started thinking, well, how would I do this? And, I actually game planned out this scenario that, I was going to shoot myself. And the next morning, somebody was going to come to the studio, and they was going to see blood up under the door, and they was going to call. And I actually pictured Diana Davis on KEIT. Sorry, Diana. But, reporting, local radio station owner found dead in the studio. And, and I'm like wondering, how are people going to react to that? But now that brings me to something I want to bring up, the topic of passive suicide, because I didn't even really notice such a thing until a couple of days ago. But passive suicide is where you may think about it a lot, but you don't actually do it. And I always say that I have a morbid fear of death. That is the only reason why I never went through with it. Because even though I may have thought about it, I just couldn't. I couldn't even more imagine actually no longer existing. And of course, they say when you're suicidal is when your ability to cope is being overwhelmed by your emotions. And basically, when they try to treat suicide, they're basically trying to get your coping mechanism at least one step above your pain, even if you're still not feeling better. But passive suicidal ideation is basically when you just have the thoughts but you don't actually go through with it. But the reason why I bring it up is a lot of times people don't open up that they're suicidal or tell anybody because, the way our culture is, the response is heavy-handed. You tell somebody you're suicidal, well, next thing you know, you got cops kicking down your door, putting you on a 72-hour hold.
Right.
You're either thrown in a cell
Right.
or you're thrown in a mental institution.
Right.
Now, I haven't been in a cell, but I have been in a mental institution.
Right.
And the time that I was in the mental institution, the very first night, so the mental institute, it was Parkwood Hospital in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Yeah, I should say.
They had two sections. They had like the court-ordered section and the section where you could voluntarily check yourself in. The voluntary section didn't have any beds, so they had to stick me in the court-ordered section. And you might well say it was like a prison because it had barbed wire and the doors were locked. That your movements were restricted. They made sure that you didn't have anything in your room that you could potentially harm or hang yourself. Now, luckily, the next day a bed opened up on the other side, and I was kind of more in a traditional room. But I think it's important to say, yes, I have been in a mental institution. Right. You can start a radio station. You can be you can do great things and still have went through that. But again, I think there needs to be a conversation on less than methods. And of course, I'm glad that they now have the 989 text number that you can text. Sometimes a person having them thoughts that, yes, some people may need to go to a facility. Some people will need therapy, will need medication. Right. But sometimes I need someone just to talk them off the ledge. But if you've got that fear that you're going to get dealt with, and let's say a scenario where a person's suicidal and they get reported and they're on a 72-hour hold and they get fired because they missed time off work. Well, now they all lost their job, their income, and all this other stuff. You think that's going to make them feel better? It's going to make them feel worse.
Right.
So there needs to be conversation, especially among men, and definitely especially among black men, on what, and that's why I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing. Number one podcast for mental health.
Hey.
Having these outlets so that, you can, get meeting people at the point of their need. And then, let's take a look at counseling, therapy, medication. And one of the things that I'm most proud of at KLEK is our mental health minute. Shout out to our mental health professional, Kenya Ward, LCSW of Foundation of Wellness Practice. Hit her up. Or Life Strategies Counseling. There's so many great therapy people that support KLEK. And it doesn't matter which one you go to. All of them are good. Bishop Matthew Lloyd, because it's definitely important for us as black men to have someone that looks like us that does counseling. So if you're a black man, you need counseling, you looking for a fellow black man to counsel you, Matthew Lloyd, that's someone that you can talk to. But okay, enough of the plugs. So every 3 times a day, we have a 1-minute segment that just gives mental health tips on how to deal with mental health or how to help someone else deal with their mental health challenges. And every 4th Wednesday, she comes on Community Conversations for 30 minutes, and she takes questions and calls and just discusses the topic of mental health. Again, it's just so important to have those conversations and to have those spaces as well.
And that's definitely so much important, like I said. And you've already said, like I said, that your radio station is one of those places that's a home for people to kind of call into and have those resources as well. But you also shared with me something like in confidence that you said that the radio station also has done what you talked about in regards to just having somebody to talk to, where some people have called into the station and just talked to the DJ, not even a professional, but just someone who they can connect with in that moment. And that's one of the things I feel like whenever you listen to anything, when it's radio, whether it's DJ or artist, we connect to like musicians and artists of that sort. And then, like I say, including DJs and everything. So I know you said that those people have called in and talked to the DJs, and that's kept them from being suicidal.
Right.
And you said majority of those calls have been men, correct?
Mm-hmm. And I just want to get a little quick note. So you talked about how listening to music, how we relate to music. Did you know that listening to music is the one activity that activates every sector of your brain at the same time? That's why it's so powerful. Now, with that being said, yes, people have called to the station. Now, it's never happened to me personally, but I've had other on-air personalities that said that, especially during the gospel, shout out to our own Brother Cobbs and Brother Boyd, that they just called in, they're going through something. And again, sometimes, like, go back to what I said earlier, sometimes somebody just wants somebody just willing to listen without judgment. That's another thing. Somebody comes to you and they sit down, don't judge them. Don't look down on them. Don't. Sometimes just shut the hell up and just listen.
That's right. That's right.
That may be all that person needs. And so, but they would call in and just listen and, talk, prayed with them, prayed for them, and, they later called back and said, well, thank you, because I was about to do something. But just because you cared enough to listen. See, that is the worst thing that you can go through when you're dealing with depression, feeling that nobody cares. Because it's so easy to be brushed aside, dismissed, laughed at, mocked. But you might be that one person that just say, okay, I'll listen. Again, on my way over here to this very podcast, dear friend of mine, public figure, well known in his community, does a lot for the community, calls saying, I'm struggling with these thoughts. I've had these thoughts lately. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm just thinking, like, this is just so powerful, this is so ironic. But and he just will randomly call out the blue. And I just listen. And at the end, and we always end the conversation saying, I love you, my brother. That's another thing. Us as men, us black men, we can't be afraid to say, I love you to each other. It doesn't mean that we attracted to each other. We're going to try to holler at each other. And even for those that are of that orientation, hey, to each their own. But, love comes in many forms. The love of a parent, the love of a brother or a sister. We can love each other, and there's not some kind of agenda behind it or ulterior motive of trying to get over on each other. We need to, show love to each other, especially us as black people, because we are all dealing with collective trauma. There are just some things like when we see things, kind of like when we was talking off air about my coverage of the George Floyd situation and how I broke down. Doing that because, I've got all these just quick versions. So I'm covering the George Floyd protests. We got 3,000 people on the live. It's a whole row of fully armed SWAT police officers, a crowd, me in the middle, and the officers are like, y'all got 1 minute to move or we're advancing. The crowd's not going anywhere. So they start advancing, and I'm the only thing standing in the way. So I'm thinking, is this my moment I'm going to get killed? But if you have never had to face something like that, you're not going to fully get it. Now, every black man in this room and that's watching, and even the black women too, have had the talk. And it's not the one about the birds and the bees and how this part goes there and how babies are made. It's the talk about what happens if you run into a police officer. And I remember LaGanzie Kale giving me that talk at 14 years old, saying, don't run from the police. If you get pulled over, just be quiet. Whatever ticket you get, I'll pay it. And Lord knows I got pulled over enough times in my life. I once got my license suspended because I got 7 tickets in 1 year. I haven't got a ticket since 2000. But on a serious note, though, that's something that, some people are just not going to get because the very possibility that simple traffic stop could lead to a death is real. And I remember it was one day on the air, and we had the show called Our Thoughts on the Matter, and we had a panel that was talking about police brutality, and there was a young white lady on the panel that said, well, I can understand where y'all are coming from. The room goes dead silent. You can literally cut the tension with a knife. There are people that are ready to go across this table and slap her upside her head. So I had to think quick. So I said, trust me on this one. Sit this one out. I said, let me try to explain this to you. Trying to understand what we as black people go through in a situation like that would be like me trying to understand what it's like to be pregnant. I would never be able to fathom it, empathize with it, or understand it. Because I'm not equipped for it. Right. I can do my part to help make the baby, but I'll never know what it's like to carry it. I don't even know what it's like to have a period. Right. But, right. I can respect what women go through, right, even though I can never fathom it. Right. So that and usually when I explain it to people like that, they tend to get it because there are just some things that you're just never going to understand because it's just impossible.
That's a great analogy. Like, I can't even, you put that like perfectly. Like I said, I'm going to start using that as well when I need to pull that out of my pocket. You, I don't even know what it's like to be pregnant. You can't tell me what it's like to be black. You sucker. You jive turkey. You don't know. I'm definitely going to use that. Most definitely, man. That's definitely a strong story, strong testimony, man. I'm definitely glad that you are here still with us throughout your different, like I said, spouse to where it could have been your last for sure. But like I said, just being able to speak, having that opportunity to like let people support you in different ways, you know, I know that made a difference. Whenever we had like the, we talked about you finishing this sentence, stay whatever, and you end up picking stay moving. Can you tell me like why you end up picking stay moving? Is it because of them 7 speeding tickets? You like, I gotta stay moving.
Could be. Be honest with you, I don't know. All I can say is I think that God refused to put a quit switch in me, no matter how much I wanted to. You know, sometimes I felt like I was hardwired to self-destruct. I often joke with myself. I tend to succeed in spite of myself, not because of myself. But sometimes that's all you can do is just keep moving. And again, kind of give it an analogy to maybe help break down. Like if I'm on a long road trip, you know, instead of saying, okay, I got this 8-hour drive, I got this 10-hour drive, I break it up. Well, I'll give you a perfect example. The drive to Helena. Because, you know, Helena's 2 hours from here. So I was, okay, Jonesboro to Harrisburg to Cherry Valley. By the way, you know, everybody got Cherry Valley story. Cherry Valley to Wynn to Forest City to Mariana, right. Mariana to Helena. So when you break it down into smaller bits, it kind of makes it easy. Like, okay, I just got to do just a little bit to get here,
I got you.
A little bit to get here,
I got you.
And next thing you know, you hit your destination. But I mean, yeah, it's good to think big picture, but sometimes, you know, you'd have to just kind of stay grounded and just think of the little steps on the journey. You know, like the expression goes, you know, you have to eat an elephant literally like one bite at a time. You know, if you look at the elephant, like, you know, there's no way I can eat this 10-ton thing. But if you know, break it down into parts, then it's a task that's eventually doable.
Most definitely. And elephant depression is often an elephant in the room for so many cases. And like you said, making those little bites to knock that elephant down makes it different and breaking them in so many ways. Man, y'all make some noise for our guests over here, man. LaGanzie in the building tonight, man. We definitely appreciate you coming through, man. We're going to have to like get a part 2 going on or something.
Yeah,
so for sure.
I feel like we're just warming up.
That's how I know it. We're going to definitely have to get another part 2 in. So we're going to save some for the next time for sure. We're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we got none other than Cecily Wilborn in the building. She's going to be performing her single, Southern Man. Y'all, we'll be back in just a minute.
Oh, that sound like
was here. What it is, straight. Don't cut it. What is it?
I about to say, that sound like one of them freaky blues.
No, we'll see y'all in just a second.
The station's call letters is KLEK. So the LEK is my late mother, Lovey Edmund Kale. This was a painting I had commissioned of her. Over here, this is another painting I had commissioned. This is me as a sad clown. I have always been fascinated by sad clowns, even though people are afraid of them. But clowns their job is to entertain us. But when the makeup comes off, when the mask is unveiled, they go home to lonely lives and they weep in silence. So I thought that was very powerful. And the artist that painted this, shot to Kimberly Forger from Little Rock, actually took a poem that I've written and incorporated it into the painting, which I didn't even know she was going to do. But it's very symbolic that of the placement. So my mom, before she passed, she would always talk to me to give me comfort. No matter what I was going through, she would just always have comforting voice. Even though she's physically no longer here, basically, spiritually, virtually, Mom and I silently talk to each other. But
so right before I let do, man, I'm gonna bring up the boy Antonio Cash. Get a boy a round of applause, man.
Damn, so the way you get this fever, burning up to the tide. Damn, son, baby.
Yeah. Y'all know what it is, man. It's the boy, the kid, the boy, the one and only Moody Was Here, and we back in the building one last time, and we got a legend in this thing. We got an icon. She a beast. You talking about the name means something in these streets. We talking about a name means something in the streets. You can catch her anywhere from this side to Mississippi River, on the other side of the Mississippi River, wherever you want to go, man. And we got none other than Cecily Wilborn in the building, performing her hit single, Southern Man.
Now, if you know the dance, I want you to go on and put your phone on that book. Whatever you got to do, prop it up. Come on, we're going to do it together. I got you. I know you said you wanted to know it. Now say, I love me a Southern man. I'm going to try to do it in the same. Come on. Back in the day, I heard an old woman say, ain't nothing like a Southern man. Nothing like a Southern man. I asked her how could she tell them apart. She put her hand right on her heart. By the way that he wears his pants. It's by the way that he wears his pants. Yeah. She was talking in a riddle so deep, I thought she was talking about his jeans. So Mr. Charlie walked up with a smile on his face. Now I see just what she mean. That man got a smooth walk. He kinda growl when he talk. Ain't shy to no hard work. He love his mama and he go to church. He don't care if them kids is his. He gon' raise them like they his. It's hard to find one, but if you can't, you better get you a Southern man. Now that woman was so proud with that man on her arm. She had me trying to chase him down all over town to see if he had a son. She said, Charlie ain't perfect, he's just a man, but he's everything I need. And now I want nothing other than a smooth Southern brother that's head over heels for me. I took that woman at her word, and now I'm happy as can be. And if you listen to what we saying to you, you'll see just what we mean. Southern man got a smooth walk. He kinda growl when he talk. Ain't shy to no hard work. He loves his mama and he go to church. He don't care if them kids is here. No. He gon' raise them like they is. It's hard to find one, but if you can't, you better get you a Southern man. Now say, I love me a Southern man. Oh, yes, I do.
Cecily Wilborn in the building, people. My gosh, man. Make some noise. Man, y'all know what it is, man. God, she will be in Memphis, Tennessee tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Where you gonna tell them where you gonna be at?
Gonna be at Robusto by Havana Mix. It's a cigar lounge, black-owned cigar lounge, right on Peabody, right next to Hooters. So if you know where Bill Street is, I'm on the next street over. Forget Bill Street. Come see me.
Hey, y'all know what it is, man. It's another great night up in Moody Land, man. Y'all better make some noise one last time, man. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what y'all gotta do. Like, comment, and subscribe, man. Follow everybody that we talked about. Everybody, because everybody that's black, we want to see win. Y'all know what it is. Until next time, Moody was here.
The focus of our episode is going to be on suicide. Gonna have to turn it dark just for a moment. So I remember 2016 sitting approximately right where I'm standing now, and I was going through a major depression. This was before I had my thyroid removed. A lot of that depression was tied into my health issue. Again, we'll have to get the full story on the full podcast. But I actually was just like had this elaborate plan of how I was going to end it. I just feel like I wasn't going anymore. But again, you got to tune in to get the full story. But I literally had it all planned out, including how all the news stations when I actually cover my death. And I thought about how people in the community react to it. But obviously I'm still here. I didn't do it. But be it as it may, you know, even the most successful people, no matter how successful you're at the bottom or if you're at the top, you know, especially if you're a man, you're not immune to those thoughts. You know, it can hit anybody, anytime, anywhere, and I'm hoping by sharing my story that someone will see it and say, hey, if he had to deal with it, then it's okay. One more thing before I get up off of here, not just my own story, and we may need to get her to comment on it because KLEK itself have saved men from suicide. There have been people who called in that were suicidal and just talked to one of our DJs while on the air, and just having those conversations actually didn't do it.